11 after school, and here's Mom. Hey Devin, are you doing your homework?
I'll get it done. You always assume I'm not going to get it done.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just that if you're not doing your homework and you're just chatting, I might want to...
I'm not just chatting. You always yell at me, and I always get it done. But here, have it. Maybe I just won't do my homework.
Okay. So, and in fact, I mean, did it sound like I was yelling to you? Not really, right? I mean, there might be history there. I might bug her every day at this time of homework. But I didn't feel like I was yelling. But her interpretation from her brain was probably correct. It's her brain, it's inside her head, and she probably heard it as yelling. So what does that, what does that mean? That means, I would feel like saying as the parent, come on, I'm not yelling, don't talk to me like that, all this sort of thing. But in fact, it's, sort of the condition, their state of being at this point that where they really don't have the skills to interpret emotion as well as we do. So then the other thing is they're programmed by their job description. At every age, the theory is that we have certain tasks that we need to get done in order to be successfully able to go on to the next stage. Since you've all had babies, you'll be, or I assume most of you have had babies, you'll recognize this. A baby's task is to learn to trust the world, to believe that the world is going to take care of that baby, that they'll be well cared for. If they're discomfort, somebody will help them out. So it's a matter of trusting the world. They need to be able to do that because in the next stage, that stage of exploring the world, they need to feel enough trust to examine things, explore things, try out different things like screaming no and those kinds of things and seeing what happens. But they need to be able to do those things. Those are essential. They're actually programmed to do it. And just like they're programmed to touch everything as a toddler, they've got to do that in order to learn about the world so they can function in the world. So some of these things that they're programmed to do can be challenging for their parents. Maybe that's even an understatement. But let's go through what these guys are programmed to do. So they need to develop their own identity. When you're in, second, third grade or younger, your identity is essentially your family's identity, your parents' identity. The way that you do things as a family is the way the family should do things. Do we eat dinner this way? Do we like this kind of food? Do we go to sleep this time? Do we have these political beliefs? Do we, do we have these kinds of friends? All of that is sort of a family thing. But what has to happen by the time you're an adult is you need to understand, you need to have your own identity, not just your family's identity. That's essential for being able to operate in the world, for doing a good job in a job situation, for having a relationship and those kinds of things. You need to have your own identity. It may not be significantly different from your parents, but you need to figure out what it is. We also, or kids, when they get to be preteens and teens, are becoming abstract thinkers. So they are starting to say, wait a minute, my family thinks this, or my mom thinks that, or my dad thinks that, but is that really true? Because I'm hearing something else as well. And so they need to examine all those things to create their own identity. So let's give an example of what might happen that could be somewhat, that you might see that exemplifies this. Okay.
I don't want to watch a stupid movie.
Hey, I thought you always liked Zac Efron movies.
Well, I don't, and I haven't for years. You don't know everything about me.
It's true. So, and it could have been like last week, right? That you love the movies, right? Did you love them last week? In any case, there's an example of something like that. They also need to become independent adults, obviously, because you're not going to be in their apartment or their house or their job setting or wherever forever. They really need to be able to operate independently. So they need to try out a lot of things that maybe aren't going to be very good decisions. Hopefully you will be there to guide them and help them make safe and morally good decisions, but they're going to need to try stuff out. So where's an example of that? What's this for you? Okay, go ahead.
I'm going downtown after school.
Oh, where are you going?
Just downtown, hanging out. Nothing more. I don't even understand why you need to know. I mean, I'll just call you when I need a ride.
Okay, so you might see something like that, which seems like outrageous. What? You don't just get to decide that. But in fact, the programming is to decide that. And if you think about it sort of from an evolutionary point of view, these things were essential for taking risks. I mean, kids need to take risks. We need to make sure they're healthy risks, but they need to take risks, and they need some drama in their life because that's what pushes them, say, out of the nest. And in terms of evolution, they needed to do those things to keep alive, and also their family needed them to get out and do some stuff to keep them alive because that's how it worked. So they need that, and they also need to develop a new level of intimacy with peers. And by that, I don't mean, as you were, I think, in recently, a sexual intimacy. That's not the essential part of it. The essential part of it is a more sophisticated type of relationship. When kids, again, are in, are preschoolers or early school age, they're making friendships based on, oh, that kid comes to my house. Or, oh, that kid lives next door to me, sits next to me in class. Oh, that kid plays soccer with me. Those kinds of things. Or now I only play with girls, or now I only play with boys, whatever. That's how the decision is made. What we really need to be able to do as an adult is find people who are compatible, that we enjoy being with. Maybe we like their humor, we like their philosophy, we like the same sorts of things that they like to do for sophisticated reasons. It's just more nuanced. And so they need a lot of experience with their peers. So we might see something like this.
Okay, I'll be over tomorrow.
Hey, Devin, you remember that we're going to the beach tomorrow with the family?
I don't want to go to the beach. I'm going to Andrea's, and Chris is going to be there too. We planned it like months ago.
Oh, well, I thought I just heard you planning it. And actually, we planned that a week ago. We talked about it. Remember, it's a family day. We always do that.
I don't want to go, and we're going to do what we always do, which is super boring, and I'm just going to lie on the blanket and sleep like I always do.
Okay, so something like that, right? I mean, I'm not suggesting that you give up on family activities. I think they're incredibly important. But that's not a total diss necessarily to the family. What it really is saying is, I need to spend time with my peers. I need to try out different kinds of friendships. It's really important to me. And so family does often get the back seat for a while. Not forever either, unless we make families so terrible and so forced that it becomes a chore that stays with us for a long time. So again, they need to do these things. It's our job to, it's our job to help them do these things in a healthy, productive way, to guide them to do them. But understand that they must do those things. They're programmed to do it. And so it's looking for those opportunities that are healthy and productive to allow them to do those things. So, onward. They're also, unfortunately, sometimes programmed by their parents. And the next one down. When we respond to their drama and emotion with our drama and emotion, that's when, or we don't, the next one down, we don't allow them what they need to do for their development. When we work against their development. Like if I were to say, you don't ever go downtown without me. That's just how it is. You don't get to make any of those decisions, okay? If I were to say that would be working against their development. I need to figure out some ways for, well actually let's go into that next one and illustrate that, yeah. Okay, so do you want your backpack? Yeah. We forget everything. I didn't mention. That's so not true of these guys. They're cueing me on all this stuff. Yeah. Okay, remember, you're home after school today. I'll expect you.
I told Brandon I would go downtown with him after school.
Brandon? You need to do your homework first.
Mom.
And anyway, I don't like that kid. Why can't you hang out with kids that are more like you? I don't like the way he looks.
Mom, Brandon is like me. You don't even know him.
I might not know him, but I've seen him. He has piercings in his hair and his clothes.
Brandon is fine, Mom. You don't know anything.
I don't know anything? You know what? I'd like to see what would happen with you if you had to make all your own decisions. You never get your homework done. I mean, you wouldn't even know who your family was.
I get my homework done.
You wouldn't even know anything. You wouldn't be able to do anything, and you wouldn't even know who I was, I bet.
Whatever.
Okay, so there's an example of, me just having a tantrum in the room, and creating a tantrum for her. And sometimes it's their tantrum that brings our tantrum, but still, if there's two tantrums, it's just not gonna work out very well in terms of getting anything resolved or in terms of being a good model. So the bad news is that kids don't automatically learn how to communicate in a respectful way, in a cooperative way, or unless we're teaching them. So if you wait around for them to be the one to learn those things, and you expect it to come from them first, you may be waiting for a very long time. So the good news is that we all have the power to make that happen with our children. It's in our ballpark, or in our court, and we will be able to put it into their court in a healthy way. So we'll have to start first with unilateral disarmament. So nobody wants to do that, but it's really very effective. So the thing that I want to talk about here is something that I think is really useful, and I'm going to attribute this to, if anybody knows John Batty. He and I worked together for years, he has a daughter, Jennifer Batty, that's in 7th grade, so you may know him. In any case, there are sort of 3 views of parenting, and if we go to you have the 100-foot view. It's really what we want for our kids in the long run. Today and in the long run, what do we want them to grow up like in terms of how they have a relationship, in terms of health, in terms of how they're going to be as a worker, in terms of their well-being? What do we want in that long view? We want all of those things, right? We want them to make good decisions, to solve problems. We all want that for our children. It's really important. And then there's the 10-foot view. That's where we take that 100-foot view, the things that we want, and we put it into practice in our day-to-day parenting. For example, here's an example here. So if our 100-foot view is that we want them to be responsible, that's going to inform how we handle when they forget their homework. Are we going to run into school for them every time? No, because that's not going to help them be responsible. That's going to inform us in how we're going to handle any kind of communication with our children too, because those are the things we're modeling for them. We want them to communicate in a certain way. We have to communicate in that certain way. So let's see, this is where we don't want to be. And this is where we can often get to be when we're having difficult communication with our children, that we're so engaged in whatever it is, or it is basically causing us to emote in ways, to have that tantrum. And so we're not thinking 100-foot anymore. We're thinking, we're all up in each other's grill, and we're really not getting what we want to do accomplish. We're not heading toward that goal in our 100-foot view. And here's a good example. They don't need us to out-argue them. We might be able to out-argue them, or we may be able to force things on them, but we do need to out-mature them. That's what we really need to do. We're the one with the mature brain, we're the one with the experience, and we're the one with that 100-foot view. They don't have that 100-foot view. We're able to have it. They're not thinking, gee, I really have to behave I gotta learn how to make decisions now because I need to make them really well when I'm 25 and I'm going out to, have my own apartment and a job and things like that. We're the ones who have that. So we need to out-mature them. So here's first strategy. And this one I love. It's very hard to do, especially for me because I like talking and I like to talk first.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this PowerPoint anywhere online somewhere?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it will be at some point. Be on the website. But yeah, I have never put it up there. I haven't thought about that yet. So let your child talk first. Listen to their opinion first. And the thing that I really like about this, it feels like we do so much talking with our children over the years, and when they're babies and toddlers, you're saying, oh, watch out for that, don't touch this, do that, you know, that kind of thing. You're doing a whole lot of that, and so you get into that habit of always talking first. I think we also believe that if we talk first, we get our opinions out, and those are the opinions that are going to matter. But in fact, it's actually the opposite. And I think it's often the opposite with a lot of people, even with adult to adult. So you're not going to be losing authority by doing that. You're not giving it up. Even if you hear a wacky opinion from your kid, it doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be. You know, for example, oh, you're going over to that, you know, this party, so what's going to happen? Oh yeah, well, it's going to be boys and girls, and I think their parents are going out, and we'll be okay because we're, you know, we have done this lots before, and, you know, you're listening to it. Now you know it, now you get some information, and that information will help you keep them safe and say, no way. But you're listening first, and then you're going to think about the way that you're going to say no way. But what's important is, oh, well, why do you want to go there? Well, I want to go there because all my friends are going there. So how, you know, how can they achieve that intimacy that they're looking for without being out all night unsupervised? I know that that's not happening with your 7th graders, but it may happen with your 8th graders. You know, who knows? It can come up. Believe me, it can come up. Okay, so, right, so let's do, what are we doing now? This is Brandon again, okay. Yes, this is a redo, same thing with Brandon. Okay, so I'll see you after school.
I told Brandon I would go downtown with him after school.
Oh yeah, Brandon, I'm trying to see if he's that one with interesting piercings?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh, and that color blue, where do you get that blue? I was wondering about that blue hair. Yeah, where do you get that? Yeah.
Well, we're just gonna go downtown, hang out, and do some homework.
Okay, well, I like that you're planning on doing homework. And I want you to, you know, because we have that rule that you do it first, right? And that's good. And I'd like you to do it at our house, but Brandon is welcome.
Mom, Brandon doesn't want to come here.
I don't know, well, how can you do your homework first at home and be with Brandon? Any ideas?
Well, I guess I could see if he could come over. Then will you drive us to downtown?
Yeah, I think we could do that. We'll work that out.
Thank you.
Okay, in any case, something like that, and it's not always going to go down beautifully, but it might if you do it a lot. And the thing that's interesting is that the kids who do a lot of back talk, this is what's, you know, with research on back talk, how they do that, I'm not sure, but the kids that do a lot of back talk are often the kids where the parents don't allow that, just sort of say, this is how it is. And so they never get the opportunity to express their opinion. The other thing that is useful about this is it gives me an opportunity to guide her into making a decent decision, to get her to weigh it out. You know, I didn't make the decision for her, but I had a bottom line that had to be fulfilled. So how is she going to achieve the bottom line? There's probably a lot of different ways to achieve it. And I might not even be thinking about all those things. I mean, why should I? My brain is older. Why should I have to do all the work? You know, so that gives me that opportunity. So let's see. So again, this kind of tells you a little bit of how we might do something like that. It's important if you are approaching your child with something like those arguments that you say that you have frequently, figure out what's your goal in advance. And sometimes you want to write it down because when you get there to do that discussion, oftentimes we go into those old patterns, whatever they are, or we get triggered by some way, an eye roll or something like that. And so what we want to do is keep in mind, you know, that 100-foot view and also that 10-foot view, you know, what is our goal? Sometimes having it written down is really helpful. There's always time to discuss other things later. Let's see, is this the one where we go to what's coming up next there? Can you just put that on for me? So this actually, speaking of John Batty, here's some more baddies that we're going to watch. These guys did this. I wanted to do one with a boy because I guess we're going to have to flip the light off because we have 3 girls here and I know that some of you have boys too. So try to keep in mind what mom's goal is.
This place is a freaking pigsty.
What do you care?
What do I care? I'm afraid we're gonna have rats.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Not that bad. I'm afraid to have my friends come over and use the bathroom. I'm embarrassed.
Tell them to use the bathroom downstairs.
How will you ever be able to live in a house or organize an office? No one's gonna put up with this. You're gonna get fired.
Whatever, Mom.
Why can't you just clean it? That's all I ask of you. How can you even find your homework in here? You are so disorganized. Are you even listening to me?
No!
So can you flip the light back on? Yes. So what would you say mom's goal was there?
Yeah, there's like a room.
Yeah. So how's she doing? Not too good, huh? So, so we're gonna see, go again, what we're gonna see is her using this technique that we just talked about. So she's gonna have the bottom line, she's gonna give the bottom line, she's going to seek out his ideas, and they're also going to have some way of fitting them together, making a compromise, and planning a time to consider whether those things are working. So let's go to the next one.
Chris?
Yeah.
Hi. Just move this chair a little bit. So, I'd like to work something out about your room.
What about it? It's my room.
Well, it is your room, that's true. And are you okay with it being like this?
Yeah. Why? Like it's fine.
Well, I'm just curious, because there's a lot of stuff mixed up around here, and I think over in the corner that's something that used to be food rotting over there.
I have a system. It works fine.